The next tool on our list here on our Modify tab, our Modify panel, is the Array tool. And the array has a radial and a linear form of arraying. We're going to start with the linear array. And there's a lot of options when you use the array tool, so we'll have a close look at it. I think we'll just use this desk as an example in here. So I'm just going to go down to my level 1. I'll zoom in on that desk right here. Okay. So what happens? We can start the array tool first, but I'm going to pick on here and say array. Now within that one tool, the first option here is, do you want to do a linear or do you want to do a radial? That's the kind of the first choice you have to make. The next thing over here option is group and associate. So what happens if you check this off after you do your array, they will form what is called a group, which is this guy right here, groups. It forms a group and stays associated so that if you move one around, it'll flex and kind of stretch and expand based on these settings that we put in here, spacing and number of units. Okay, so if you don't put this on after you do the array, they all just are individual objects. There's no association retained. This retains an association in the array and also groups them. The next thing is how many do you want? This is how many units do you want to put? 5, 4, 3, 2, minimum of 2. You can change it after the fact as well. So this is how many units are going to get put in, and it always prompts you after you do the array to verify the number, so you can change that. The next thing here is, how are you going to form the spacing? You're going to array this. There's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It can be diagonal. It can go in any direction. It's going to be linear. There's going to be a certain amount, this many. And to define the distance between each one, you have two choices. You can define the distance by specifying 2 points that would represent the first and second spacing. So if you leave it on here, what happens is I would go click here, and it would take that as my spacing, and then take that many and go out at that angle. Okay, that's what this one would do. If you change it to say last, what happens is you pick your first point, it could be anywhere, and then the second point you pick is at the end of the array, and it'll take this many and space them accordingly. So this, you're forming the first point and the last point of the array. With this, you're forming the first point and the second point of the array, and then it expands beyond that. If you do this, where you pick will be the end of the array. Okay. The constrain option means that when you go to form the array and pick your points, this means it's going to keep it square. Constrain in this case means orthogonal, just like your ortho, your F8 in AutoCAD. So when you leave this on, what happens is when you go to pick your points, it'll only go square. It won't let you go at an angle. That's what this does. So you have that choice. Okay, so the next one, we're just talking about the tools themselves here, is with radial, all of a sudden you get some more options. Okay, it gets even a little busier up here. So back to the linear one. So the first thing we want to do is we want to say, okay, select an object. So I'm just going to start again, escape, escape. Now remember, when you hit escape, escape, you can also go up and just click modify here. That does a bunch of escapes, basically. So this is a clearing, of course. When you want to just clear or hit escape, you hit this modify is kind of the king of all escape, escape buttons. So here we go, linear array. Click, pick an object, and then hit an enter. In this case, I picked the tool first. Here we go. Linear array. Let's group and associate them. I want to have 4 units, and I'm going to pick the last point, and I do not want it constrained. I'm going to go at an angle. Pick here. There's my last one. It's going to put 4 of them in there. It always prompts me after I'm done here, the blue number 4, and I change my mind. I want 5. Click out, I'm done. There's the array. If I pick any one of these and move it, I've got my press and drag on, the array will follow it. Okay, and I can straighten it out. It also snaps. It's very good. Array has improved a lot in the last couple versions of Revit. If I happen to grab the middle one and move it, it's going to do a funny thing too, but it will actually, Isn't that amazing? Retain itself as that's the group and associate doing that. Anytime I want, I can go in here and change this number. If I want to make it longer, I take this guy and I move it or nudge it, and it nudges it. So group and associate is what's making this happen. Okay? So now watch what happens. If I click on here and I say delete, it deletes that one from the array. What happens? These all retain like little mini groups. So what you have to do after you kind of do that is you want to ungroup them all. Now it's back to just being a desk. So I'm going to grab these guys and delete them. Okay, let's try it again. Pick on here, array. We'll go with linear. Let's take the group off. Let's say we're going to have 5 units. I'm going to go first to second point instead of last, and I'm also going to constrain it. So watch what happens. First, I need to pick some points. So I can start anywhere I want. I could pick a point here, here, here. Usually we pick a point on the object, but we don't have to. We're defining a differential. So we pick on here. Now notice, because of the constraint, it's making me go straight or square. So I say, okay, I go this way, and I'm picking the second point, so be careful. You don't want to go to the end. I'm saying, okay, well, the second one is going to be, look, 14 foot 6, 15 feet. So I'm going to type in 15. Enter. It's going to put it 15 feet, and it's going to do 5 of them. Pan out. That's it. The command is over, just to make sure we hit modify. Now, if I pick on these guys, okay, the difference is these I didn't group and associate. So that they're just, I did the array, and that's it. Okay, I could take these guys now and make an array of them. I could pick on here and say array. I'm going to form the second point. I'm going to put 4 rows. I'm going to define the second point, and I am going to, I'll keep it square, constrain it. Up we go, and I'm going to form, the second point is going to be here, 12 feet, click, and it's going to put so many rows in. Now when I pick on here, I didn't do group and associate anywhere through, so none of these guys are talking to each other because I didn't group and associate. So that's fine. I could do that, and that would be okay. Now let's try it with the group and associate. Click on here, group and associate. I'm going to form, I want 5 units. I'm going to go to the last point. I'm going to keep the constraint to keep it square. Off I go. 5 units across there. Click out. Click out. If I want to change it, I can go back in and change it. Now watch. I pick on this guy here, okay, and I array that guy. Now what happens if I array him? Second point, I want 4 units. Group and associate, constrain, go from here to here. Okay, click out. That will only take that one guy and group and associate it. Now I can pick on here and I can change this to say 5 if I wanted like that. If I pick on here, I can change this and change this to be 6. What's going to happen? It's going to adjust it. This guy needs to move actually. Square that up. So you can do some funny things. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this guy and delete them. These guys are still associated. I'll change that back to be 5. Now if I take this whole bank and array those, I can create a more of a grid system. I'm going to go form the second point. Second point, I'm going to put in 4 units, group and associate, keep them constrained. Here we go, click. And now I have 4 units, and I'm going to change it to 5. Okay. Now the tricky part here is that this one I can still manipulate. Okay, by taking it and moving it. Okay, you can take this last bank and move it, and it'll update. Okay, and I can take these and change them to say 6 instead, and it'll expand that. But if I try to take this guy, tab, and manipulate this original array, down in here, by tabbing, it's not going to let me do it. If I try to change this one down here to be 6, it's going to start giving me some errors. So you can't control it double, but you can maybe someone who's a master of groups. We're starting to get more into groups when we do that type of thing. So that's kind of the array linear. And if you wanted to try to form a complete grid like this, remember once you take these guys and kind of bust them down, is to ungroup them, because then you'll be able to work with them ungroup. And now you see, oh, you see now, of course, I can go back to that original group. So have fun testing that aspect. The main thing is to understand the process of what these guys are all doing inside of here. So once you understand this, then it's up to you to kind of tinker around and see how far you can push the envelope on that. We'll come back and talk about the radial array in our next lesson.